There's more trouble on the horizon for the Trump Organization and potentially former President Donald Trump. His company is now under criminal investigation by the New York State Attorney General. Letitia James' office has been looking into the former president's company since 2019 after Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer, testified to Congress that Mr. Trump directed his associates to inflate the value of his assets. Our office announced last night that the probe is no longer just civil in nature. CBS News investigative reporter Graham Cates has been working the story. He's here now to talk about what he learned. So, Graham, what is the alleged criminal activity that the New York Attorney General is looking into?
Well, the New York Attorney General has now seen fit to join in with the Manhattan DA's criminal investigation, which means that they've now seen something that aligns with what has been a wide-ranging criminal investigation in the Manhattan DA's office. Up until now, they have been looking at whether or not the Trump Organization inflated Donald Trump's assets or the values of his properties when seeking loans, and then alternatively deflated the values of his properties when doing his taxes in order to limit the amount of tax he paid. And that probe has been civil in nature, but now they're able to combine forces with the Manhattan DA, which has been looking at similar things while investigating Donald Trump's taxes and other allegations of fraud.
Have we heard anything from President Trump or perhaps his lawyers about this?
I reached out to several of the Trump Organization attorneys as well as a spokesperson for the president. And so far, we haven't heard back. In the past, the president has, of course, referred to this as a witch hunt, but he actually hasn't spoken out on this investigation in quite some time.
So remind us what the focus of the AG's civil case is and who have investigators spoken to thus far?
Investigators have talked to several near the top people in the Trump Organization. We're talking about Eric Trump. We're talking about other top executives, and that's been on the civil side. And what's really interesting about that is on the Manhattan DA side, the criminal investigation, they haven't been able to make contact with these same people. So now you've got investigators for an office that has in some ways had an easier go of it when looking into the Trump Organization, had easier access. Hasn't been blocked by kind of the existence of the presidency because it wasn't a criminal investigation. And they're able to kind of share their wealth of knowledge with the Manhattan DA that has, for several years now, kind of been blocked at every turn as it's tried to advance this case.
So it sounds like there's a lot of overlap. In fact, when you were kind of describing the civil case, I thought to me it kind of sounds like something that could carry criminal charges. Could the actions under investigation in the civil case carry criminal charges as well from the AG?
I think that's what we're looking at now. I mean, this was always going to, the Manhattan case was always going to be state of New York charges, right? So now you've got the two offices collaborating on it. And you're right, so many of the things, that they were running really parallel investigations. They were subpoenaing the same people, the same information on the same properties. They were seeking depositions from the same people. So now in some ways, they're eliminating redundancies as they move forward.
The statement from the AG's office said it's working with the Manhattan District Attorney, that is Cy Vance, in this case. How have their investigations into the Trump Organization intersected so far?
So I'll give you an example. A couple of months ago, we reported on how the two investigations have looked at a property for the Trump Organization called Seven Springs Estate in Westchester, New York. And I spoke to an engineer who had done some civil engineering work for the Trump Organization. And he had spoken to the New York AG's office, and then a couple of months later was subpoenaed by the Manhattan DA and provided information to them. Another example is I interviewed several times Jennifer Weisselberg. She's the ex-daughter-in-law of the CFO, Alan Weisselberg. In September, she was first contacted by the New York AG's office. And then in December, she was contacted by the Manhattan DA. And they all have similar questions. When she describes the interviews with them, they really ran on parallel tracks. And so now the investigators are going to start, I think, collaborating on all of these bits of information they were able to get for all these different things where they were basically doing the same thing anyway.
The DA's office started its criminal investigation into the former president's dealings back in 2018. Where do things stand right now? And we know that Cy Vance is retiring at the end of the year, so is that likely to have an impact on the case moving forward?
Well, first, for where they stand, this investigation really picked up speed this year. For a long time, it was stalled as the former president challenged the ability to subpoena him while he was president and subpoena his taxes. And then, of course, earlier this year, the Supreme Court ruled that the Manhattan DA could get 8 years worth of his taxes, millions of pages of, over 1 million pages of financial documentation. And ever since then, you've really seen this pick up speed. They're issuing subpoenas at a rapid rate. You see developments really every week or two in this case. And it's almost like it has this time limit to it because Cy Vance's time in office, the Manhattan DA's time in office, is over on December 31st, and someone new is going to pick up the case. And so you think there might be maybe some motivation for him to see this, whether it result in charges or not, before he's out of office. And then a really interesting thing is going to happen. This is one of the most high-profile criminal investigations in history, and all of a sudden, someone new is going to be in charge of it. And right now, there are 8 candidates in the Manhattan DA's race on the Democratic side, and there's a primary in June. And in New York City, typically, a Democratic Manhattan DA primary winner is going to be the one who takes over. So we should know in just a few weeks who's going to be the next Manhattan DA, and we could start talking to that person about what they think of this investigation.
All right, Graham Cates, thank you so much.
Thank you.